welcome to another edition of Can I Make Cake Out of You? The backstory of this cake starts with a bit of an admission, I suppose. I made a sticky toffee Jamaican ginger cake. I realised in the edit that I had completely misframed it. I might put a little thing here if I feel like owning my mistakes. But I've learned from it, hopefully, as we can see now. We'll see. I based that recipe on the lemon blueberry polenta cake from Domestic Goddess. Link below. It's an amazing cake, delicious. And I played around with the flavours in that. So I'm going to do something a bit similar here, but I'm going to change up some of the ingredients as well. I don't know if this is going to work. It might be a complete catastrophe, but it'd be very on brand, wouldn't it? I'm using yellow grits in this. These are really a thing in the UK, and I've only heard of it through movies and TV, but to me that looks very similar to polenta. It's quite fine. I'll do a side by side with the polenta, shall I? This one's polenta, this one's grits. Now to me that looks near enough the same, if I'm honest. You can get different types of grits. You can get white ones, which I think are called hominy, and I think they've had some sort of chemical treating, but that's obviously not what I'm using today. Although I guess it would work with that. Let me know in the comments if you decide to try it. I have 125 grams of grits, polenta, whatever you're going to use. What I have here is a wheat breakfast cereal. So it's a kind of oatmeal but made from wheat. The original recipe calls for ground nuts, so I'm going to put this in instead. This might not work at all, but I won't know until I've tried it. So 100 grams of that. I've put the polenta and the grits in first because if I try and sieve those I'm going to miss lots of the nice bits. This is 150 grams of plain flour. I imagine you could use self-raising because I'm putting baking soda in anyway. Just reduce the amount of baking powder. Speaking of which, I've got 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. The salt's for flavour and the other 2 are rising agents. So they're going to hopefully give the cake some nice lift. This will not be a light fluffy cake. It's going to be more muffin and dense in texture. 130 grams of caster sugar. That's a super fine sugar. I forgot to tell you to do something, I'm sorry. You need to toast nuts and oats. So I've got 50 grams of jumbo oats, 50 grams of just regular oats, and then I had 50 grams of walnuts. Do that ahead of time, like I did and forgot to tell you about. Sorry. I'm putting in a tablespoon of potato starch. This is not on the original recipe. What I'm hoping will happen is this will act as a bit of a binder and keep everything nice and tight in together. All the dry ingredients are together now, so I'll give it a quick mix through just to start combining the ingredients. You need a preheated oven at 160 degrees C, which is about 340-ish Fahrenheit. You'll be toasting the nuts in the oven. I did those at 175 degrees-ish for 15 minutes or so. Turn them over, kind of 2-3 times, just so you don't want anything to get too dark. You just want a little bit of colour. Oats can be a bit dusty in flavour, so I'm just toasting them to cook that off a bit. You can skip that step if you don't mind a bit of dustiness in your mouth. The walnuts will probably either have to come out early or put them in later. So give the oats 7-8 minutes on their own, mix it through, then put the oats in. I'm using a cast iron skillet to bake this. You could use a cake pan, no problem. What I will do is grease the bottom of it. So I'm just spraying in some oil. And this is just sunflower oil. And then using a paper towel. Found this to be the best method of getting every bit of it coated. You can use the brush, but it does leave streaks and then that sticks. I'm pushing the dry ingredients to the side of the bowl. And I'll pour all of the wet stuff in and then start mixing it together. 180 mils of oat milk. 120 grams of yogurt, plant-based yogurt. I'm using vanilla. You could use plain, any flavour you like really. This is 120 mils of sunflower oil. You could use any oil that you have to hand. I use sunflower because it's cheap. And a teaspoon of vanilla extract, just to boost up that vanilla flavour a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to mix this together. I use a fork, I find it easy enough, but do feel free to use a cake mixer, anything like that. It doesn't need much work at all to combine it. This is malt extract, and it's a really sweet, deep, round flavour kind of syrup, very sticky. If it's cold, it's a lot harder to drizzle neatly. It just... So I've warmed it in a pan of boiled water. So I think I'll just make it a bit thinner. I'm going to drizzle this on the bits and pieces. It's gone very splodgy already. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm going to put a layer in the pan. I think it's the wheat that's doing this. So this might completely backfire. But I won't know until I've tried it. I've got 100 grams in total of oats. I've gone half of it chunky, jumbo ones, and half of it just the cheap stuff. The purpose of the oats is because I have made the polenta cake with apples in before, and the juice from the apples makes it go very stodgy and heavy. So I'm hoping that the oats will suck up that juice, leave the cake to do its cakey thing, and leave with a nice, yeah, like a nice crumble almost. Probably not though, because it's wet, so it's not going to crisp as much. But it should give it a nice bit of texture in the middle. I wasn't sure how many layers I was going to get, but I think really only one. The rest of the oats I'll just use in my granola. So you could probably do 20 grams maybe. Same with the jumbo oats. Get those big uns in there, nice bit of bite. Got 50 grams of walnuts toasted, but I don't think I need nearly that many. So maybe 20-25 grams again. You can use any type of nut. Walnuts just go really well for me with apple. Hazelnut will be really good. This is another recipe using the apples from my back garden. Make sure you hit subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll always see whenever any of my garden goodies have been baked and bunged in the oven. I'm going to try using a speed peeler on this. I have no idea if it will work. Oh, very nicely. Yay! I'm going to use a mandolin to slice this on. So I want that on quite a thick, watch your fingers. Any little bits of core I'll just take out with a little knife. I mean, you can leave them in there, but the pieces can be a bit sharp, especially after they've been cooked. What I'm trying to do is give it a really nice thick layer of apple. And I'm leaving a bit of a gap around the edge. Almost like a pie. I don't know if there's any benefit of this, but in my mind I'm thinking the cake batter will trap the apple pieces inside. The next step is to drizzle malt extract all over the apples. And this is going to give a nice sweetness. Oh man, this is way messier than I predicted. You don't have to use this at all. I wouldn't necessarily substitute this for corn syrup or anything like that. You're doing it for the flavour, not the sweetness. You could use golden syrup. You could use treacle/molasses. That would take it into another dimension. I'm just breaking up the batter, although it's gone very... I'm going to put more oats on it, a little bit more nuts, because why not? I think what I'll do is kind of lob it on there and then pack it down. Can I make this fit? Right, I think I'm just going to have to accept that there's a hole. It's for steam. I have a feeling this is going to come out more like a pancake than a cake. But that's okay because pancakes are delicious, are they not? I don't know why I'm so intent on covering the whole thing, but I'm glad I have. 2 teaspoons or thereabouts of demerara sugar. Got a few more walnuts. These are not toasted. I suddenly realise if I put the toasted ones on top, they're going to burn. So if I put raw ones on, they should hopefully be okay. I'll bake the cake for 40 minutes-ish. Well, I say cake, creation. The creation will go in the oven for about 40 minutes. And if it starts getting too dark on top, I'll put some foil on. So that's in the oven. I will come and check it every 10 minutes just to see what the colour's doing. And then we'll pick it up from there. I'm a few minutes late with the cake, because of course I am. No more than 5 though, so that's been in for 45 minutes now. So I'm putting this through and pulling it out to check that there's nothing coming off the bottom, which there isn't, so I can't demonstrate that for you. Sorry. There's a slight stretch to it, in a way. I wonder if that's the potato starch. And my mind wants to roll it with jam inside. Now I just need to be patient and let it cool down. At least 20, 30 minutes or less. It's time, I've decided. It has had about 50 minutes to an hour, I think. There's still a bit of warmth to it. Seems to have come away from the pan quite nicely. The side that isn't falling apart looks really good. I'm going to swizzle that around for you. It has done what I'd hoped, which is to create almost a crust, like a pocket around it. All right. That's delicious. Trying to show you the texture a bit. So it's nice. It has the apple and oat mixture is kept nice and separate from the cake batter, quote unquote. Yeah, so the mixture is nice and dry and cake-like, but then you've got this nice softness inside. That is really, really tasty. I'll experiment with different fillings. Apple and blackberries probably work really well. So the answer to the question, can you mix 3 breakfast grains together and make a cake? Yes. Yes, you can.